Thank you.
And joining me now is Patrick Murphy, former Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania, former acting secretary of the Army, and a veteran of the Iraq War. Congressman, I want to start by thanking you, as always, for your service to you and all veterans. And I have to ask you, how offensive is it? Not just because you are a veteran and the former acting secretary of the Navy, but to have witnessed and to hear what Donald Trump did at Arlington National Cemetery.
Yeah, Katie, as Courtney said, it's really when Donald Trump had complete disregard for our brother and sister veterans. Katie, I think you know I served in Iraq. I was with the 82nd Airborne Division. And our brothers and sisters who gave the ultimate sacrifice from Iraq, Afghanistan are buried in Section 60. It is a solemn ground. President Trump, former President Trump, and his aides knew better. They didn't just disregard the rules, regulations, and the law. They pushed aside a woman who was doing her job, part of our Army team, for a campaign commercial, for a TikTok campaign commercial. I mean, how low can it get? Katie, I'm named after a Vietnam veteran. His name's Patrick Ward. He gave the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. And it just, not just breaks my heart, it makes my blood boil, because we have someone who thinks he's still above the law. We have someone who doesn't care about our veterans. When it was his chance to serve during Vietnam, he got 5 deferments for a bone spur. He doesn't even remember what foot it was on. He calls my brother and sister veterans losers and suckers. He calls the former Secretary of Defense and his chief of staff, 2 different 4-star Marine generals, disparages them in General Mattis and General Kelly who lost his son in combat. He dishonors Gold Star families. He attacks people, and that's why this Army civilian, this woman who's just doing her job, who is pushed aside, doesn't want to give a statement because she's worried about retaliation. Well, let me tell you something. There's 900,000 veterans in my state of Pennsylvania, and there's about over 20 million veterans across America whose voices will be heard on November 5th, who say no one is above the law in our country, especially a 34-time convicted felon in Donald J. Trump.
You know, Congressman, you talk a lot about how Donald Trump puts himself first and how he wants to make sure that he's going to get that photo op no matter what it takes to be able to get that. A fellow veteran that is currently out doing and stumping to be able to right the wrongs from a Trump administration includes your former roommates, Governor Tim Walz. There's been a lot of hay that's been made from the Republicans, including J.D. Vance, who's also a veteran, by the way, who never saw combat. But there's been a lot of hay made from the Republicans about Governor Walz's service in the military. You not only, like I said, was a roommate of his, but you guys were fellow veterans that shared time together, you know, behind the prying eyes of the public when you were in Congress together, right? You got to know him really well. Share with our viewers kind of whether there is any type of falsity in the way that Tim Walz views his time and his many years of service as a member of the military here in the United States.
Yeah, as veterans are, we honor our brother and sister veterans. When J.D. Vance was nominated, I'm a Democrat. I'm a proud Democrat. I didn't attack his service. I said, listen, he served in Iraq. God bless him. I'm glad, you know, a Marine is on the ticket. When Tim Walz was nominated to be the vice president, it's a different standard. The Republicans attack. They did to John Kerry 20 years ago. They're trying to do it again to Tim Walz. Tim Walz, Katie, served honorably for 24 years. We have asked less than 1% of our nation to serve in the longest wars in American history. After 20 years, Tim Walz could have got out. He could have got out of the military. He did 2 decades, but he reenlisted. He deploys with his unit after 9/11, his artillery unit, overseas, leaves his wife, leaves his kids, leaves his job, goes over there as a citizen soldier, serves honorably, comes home, retires after 24 years. And what do these jokers on the other side do? They attack his service time and time again, and they try to be cute by half. Oh, we're not attacking the service. Tim Walz is a great American. I was so proud to be a member of Congress. And when I was going through orientation, I met Tim Walz. And we said, hey, we're both Army brothers. We got a cheap apartment within walking distance of Capitol Hill because his family's young family's back in Minnesota. Mine was back in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And for these jokers to attack him, these jokers led by Donald Trump, who got 5 deferments during Vietnam, who didn't have the guts to serve when his country asked him to do it, to attack someone like Tim Walz, it's despicable. It's just like he did this week. It's just like his modus operandi his whole life. Selfless, shallow, and gutless.
Congressman Patrick Murphy, I want to thank you for your time tonight. And again, I want to thank you and your fellow veterans for your service to this great country. Thank you so much.
Thanks. God bless America.